We're live. Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog. We got an exciting show for you today. But before I get started, let me do a little housekeeping over here and be sure that everything's live the way it should be. This is going to be a really great broadcast today. I've got Dave Spannhake from Reunion Marketing. Okay, I'm going to make this broadcast public right now. There we are. And there's Dave.
Hey, how you doing, Jim? Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, we're going to have a ball. Reunion Marketing. What is this? Some sort of religious cult, or what is Reunion?
No, it's I've had the name actually since like 2005. But like my best friend and I from Ohio, we talked about going into business together and reuniting. And he ended up going over to a company called Infinite Scale. He's done several of the Super Bowl logos, and he's got a gig that he wasn't going to leave. But then worked at 10 years for the Leek Automotive Group here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where we're based out of, and grew a pretty impressive team. We had 25 people in the marketing department. I was the marketing director.
Wait a minute. You came from retail?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 10 years on that side.
You got retail experience.
Yeah. It helps a lot.
You weren't like a lot attendant. I mean, you actually had some responsibility.
Yeah, oh yeah. There were 25 people on our team, and made a lot of noise the last 3 years there with a team of the folks that left with me to start Reunion Marketing, which is we reunited, which is where that name comes from. But we increased the web traffic and leads for the group by 400%. Can't go into specific numbers because it's a private group, but the revenue increased by 75% the last 3 years we were there. So, we were creating some digital marketing plans based on using data that work. And so, we've been.
Let me ask, how many stores in that group?
Yeah, so there were 33. I think they sold just a couple of them since we left, but 33. And
your position was what?
The marketing director for the group.
For the whole group.
Yep. Yeah. And there's 1,600 employees. It's a big group. It's a group that keeps to themselves. But the last year we were there, we were selling 1 out of every 5 cars in Wake County. Which
when I put you on stage at Battle Plan, I'm expecting you to be a heavyweight practicing expert. Is that fair?
Hey, oh, absolutely. That's what I love to do, is talk about data, teach what's going on, and give some insights into what works out there, and how to actually take data, which is confusing to a lot of folks, and just see what it means and what you can do on your website or your SEO, SEM, social, all your marketing plans, third-party sites to know where you fit into the mix and how you compare to competitors and how you take action with that data.
Okay, let's break this down to dealer speak. Now, most dealer principals, and we've got a lot of dealer principals now that are second, third generation, but most of the established, been there a long time dealer principals don't even know where the on switch on their computer is.
Oh yeah, I taught a lot of copy and paste in my early years for sure.
So let's bring this down to dealer level. Let's talk about it. Our audience is coming aboard. We got a couple of viewers now. Bring it down to dealer level. What does Reunion Marketing do?
So I guess one of the questions that dealerships like to ask is, I'm getting a little bit of reverb. Let me lower the volume. Does that sound better?
Much.
All right. So one of the questions people ask all the time is, what is my competition doing? And so what we do is we tell people what the competition's doing and what the best practices are. So we took some of the things that we did, working at that auto group, to where, with them, there are 33 stores where we took every one of their data points, how well they're doing on their homepage, how well they're doing on their SRPs, their search result pages, what kind of words people were searching for to get to the website. And we aggregated that data. We put it all together so we could say, this dealership is the best in the group. This is the worst in the group. Here's the top 20%, bottom 20. And because we could look at all the data, we could say, here's why they're doing this. Here's why they're converting less. Here's why they're converting more. And so what Reunion does, we're up to, fortunately, in just a quick 3 years, we're up to nearly 200 stores. So we have a whole lot more data than we did when we were at the.
So wait a minute, you picked up 200 stores in what period of time?
Yeah, 200 stores in 3 years, and not quite. I think we're in the 190s, but we're closing in on it.
You wouldn't believe who just showed up. Jeff Clark.
No.
Yeah, Jeffrey Clark. I mean,
Yeah.
Honest to goodness, if you don't know Jeffrey, you've probably seen his picture hanging in a post office. You know,
he's one of my mentors.
Really?
Oh yeah, he always called me little brother, like those little frat brothers. But he taught me all sorts of great things. You know, the number one lesson he taught me is he always liked being. He said the dumbest person in the room, which is silly because he's very, very smart and he's one of the best out there. But he always liked to hire people around him who were smarter than him at everything they were doing. So I've taken a lot of that methodology at Reunion, where you know everyone on the team is better than me at what they're doing, and you know that's one of the reasons why we've been able to grow to 200 stores so quickly and 98% retention, and you know are you know starting to make some noise out there is because you know we're hiring people that are great. You know, a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to be the best in the room, and that's a big mistake. And that's something Jeff taught me back in my mid 20s. Really, don't do that. Don't make that mistake. And that's one that I've held on to and been a big part of our success. But he's certainly one of my biggest mentors in the space. Papa Bear is what a lot of folks call him.
Well, let me ask you. I just put something on the sidebar there. How much analysis can you give on what the competitors are doing?
So okay. So it depends on what we're talking about. So when we talk about what's happening with the competitors, we can give some really great analysis for where dealerships are showing up in terms of search. You know, are you in those top positions? Where are the competitors? Truly, when you're talking about SEO and trying to get more traffic to your website, though, the real competitors aren't other dealerships so much as it's AutoTrader and Car Gurus and Cars.com. So what we look at, you know, we recently did a 10 million query study, 10 million different searches across a bunch of our stores. And what are the types of search terms people are looking for the most? So we took all that data and put it together, and we recognized, I mean, there's really like 20 or 30 words that are used 95% of the time, whether it's single word, double, triple. So that gives us a good frame of reference for where you should show up. So if a dealer is in, you know, second position, but the majority of our stores are in first position, that tells us you're not showing up where you could show up because the data says that you can make it there. Or if you're, you know, showing up, for instance, for the third position for the Honda dealership in Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, we know that that's a search that you should own, a right to win search. That's what Denise Chuddy, one of my friends that over contacted once and formerly Lale, she calls it right to win searches, and I love that. Give her kudos on coming up with that name, but a dealership should own that search. So what we do is we tell dealers, hey, you're in third position here. You might think that's good. First position gets 35% of the clicks. Third gets 10. You're missing out on 25% of the clicks. So we're going to build
first position on Google gets 35% of the clicks.
It does in the aggregate too. So every search is different. If it's a for sale search, it's a higher click than if it's just like a Ford F-150. You know, there's a ton of different search engine result pages. If it's a geo search, if it's a for sale search, if it's more of an informational question search. You know, one thing that, you know, a lot of dealerships are talking about long tail. You know, long tail is a huge discussion right now. Everyone wants to show up in all the long tail searches. If a dealership looks at what's actually driving traffic to their website, it's not quite as long tail as what's being represented. And then an easy way for dealers to look at this is just integrate Search Console to their Google Analytics, and you can see all the searches happening. But 95% of searches within that $10 million data set were 5 words or less. And so long tail is happening, but it's not happening for the low funnel shoppers that are getting to dealership websites. Those are people who are still typing in Honda dealership near me, you know, Honda Accord for sale in Raleigh, you know, Ford F-150 lease prices, you know, all these kind of very short keyword indicators. And, you know, we're looking at 10 million queries to come up with some of these conclusions. And so one of the things that I think is pretty neat is, yes, long tail is happening. There were 600 billion voice searches last year. There are 2 trillion non-voice searches on desktop or phone, but that were not voice related. But all those voice searches that are long tail, that everyone's getting excited about and pumping a lot of money into, you know, maybe not as wisely as prioritizing based on what's happening in volume and in mass. Because if you're always focused on what's going to, you know, get you the biggest increase in shoppers and the biggest increase in leads and phone calls, you're gonna be focusing on the things that are way higher impressions, way more people searching. But what's happening is when people are doing voice search now, instead of shopping behaviors, they're like, hey, where's my dang telephone at? Or hey Siri, what's the weather today? I'm looking to go to the lake. And they're asking questions more about, oh, hey, will you set my alarm clock to go off tomorrow at 4 p.m.? Great, there's like 9 or 10 words, and that's what long tail is. But only 11% of the voice searches that happened last year were shopping related. 90% are more question related, more just asking for information, reminders, all that kind of stuff. So it is making the transition there. But if you're really focusing on driving more traffic, you're going to focus a whole lot more on still the short tail for now. It's 95% of all the drivers to a dealership website. So start there. Once you have that dominant position, and you prioritize based on that, then the long tail kind of comes naturally because you own that authority for all those 95% of the searches coming to your site, as opposed to focusing on the 5%, which is what, unfortunately, a lot of the other folks in this space who maybe aren't looking at the data are doing right now. So it's a big opportunity for dealerships to look at their data and understand what it means, and then take action with, and prioritize based on what the shoppers are doing, what the consumers are doing.
You got a fan club building up over here on the side. Do you know Joe Thistle?
Oh yeah, no, I think I recognize his name.
Oh, how about Scott Miller?
Scott Miller. I don't recognize based on the
Jason
comments.
Hughes?
Hi, Scott. Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, you got a little fan club building up. Okay, so
yeah, Jason Hughes up there in Michigan.
Oh, I tell you, honest to goodness, I know a little bit more about your history, and I know you to be a super performer. That's why I'm really excited to have you at Battle Plan. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know what you're capable of. What all services does Reunion offer? What services does your company offer?
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I like to talk about data first is because we in our space we do SEO, we do SEM. Part of SEO is also the conversion optimization, actually going into the website and making updates to get people doing the things we want them to do. But SEO and conversion, SEM, so pay per click and display retargeting. We do social media, and we do automotive consulting too. Knowing a lot of folks in the space and a lot of the expectations for different vendors that are definitely worth being in a budget, helping set those budgets based on what's working and what's not. But again, all around data. But one of the reasons I don't like saying, well, we're an SEO company or an SEM company is because there's become kind of a negative connotation. There's 140 of them on driving sales. If you look at some of the companies there, 140 SEO companies. The number of them that look at data in aggregate and use their own dealership network to pinpoint, here's where the opportunities are to fix things. Here's why your homepage is broken. Here's why your model pages with all your inventory aren't getting the clicks and the leads, and using data to make those updates in real time that works on your SEM, it works in your PPC kind of simultaneously. You can really count on about one hand, and there's a couple other good ones out there for sure, but there are, we hear, oh, another SEM company, another SEO company. It's like, no, we're a data company. We use those channels. To make it work for you. But there's a negative connotation because so many people say they do SEO. You look at their monthly or quarterly report. I look at those and I say, well, great, I could have done that in about 5 minutes. You should know what's going on with your SEO. You should know we specifically we're not winning here. We're not doing as good as we need to here. We're in the bottom 20% maybe in terms of search result page, chat conversion or phone conversion or whatever the biggest opportunities are. So if we get up to just the average dealer across the network, that's going to give us an extra 40 leads. We have a plan for what's going on, and the data is telling us what's possible and what's not. And if you only focus on just SEO, a lot of people try to win it all too. So again, that example, you're in position 3 for a Honda dealership in Raleigh search. And if you get up to a Honda dealership to the first position, you're talking about 25% more clicks for that search. Say there's 2,000 people searching that every month. You're talking, about 500 more clicks to your website. So it's a lot of people don't look at the data and they don't set expectations based on their own network. And that's not just SEO, SEM. That's third-party sites. That's something that, we urge dealerships all the time. Talk to cars.com, talk to AutoTrader, have them work with you to tell you, where do you fit in? How does your click-through rate performance fit into the rest of the community, and what are they doing differently than you? Say you have a 1% click-through rate to get your inventory viewed on Car Gurus, but what are the 4 or 5, 6%ers doing that you're not? So you can start using this data that all these vendors have about what the best dealerships in the space are doing to create those results for yourself, because the data's out there. And that's something I think in about 5 or 6 years, we're going to be seeing a lot more vendors using their own data to power, use their own dealership network to power the results. And that's who we are. So we do that through all those different channels, but it's really about, we say, what is the competition doing? We're not talking about just the neighbors in the backyard. We're talking about across the country. Who are the best dealers? What are they doing differently than you? And why are they 3 or 4 times maybe the conversion rate or click-through rate or quality scores or whatever?
If they got 3 or 4 times the conversion rate, and all of a sudden you expose that, then again, you're going to have to find a better competitor and keep building on that. So it's going to be in flux the entire time. It's never going to be something you can just work on.
That's the best part too. It's because when we look at that stuff as kind of we like to win at Reunion. I mean, that's something that we wake up every day and we get excited to go out there and be better and learn more. And so as we've grown, just where we were a year ago, and we had, not quite half, but about half as many stores as we work with today. The more data we have, and fortunately, a lot of the folks that work with us are the ones who really care about the data and have a great understanding of digital marketing to where they want to see how they fit in. And so we work with some of the best stores in the country now who are some of the brightest minds, and they're challenging us and they're giving insights, that give us even more data and allow us to even better understand what's happening, in the space. And so every month we sure better have higher benchmarks and averages than the month before, because if not, it means we're not doing our job. So we internally, our team of marketing consultants and our SEO team, their pay plan, their objectives are built around making sure that they're producing better results every month. And we have all the data to kind of pinpoint that. So if the results aren't increasing, then that's a conversation. Fortunately, the team is full of rock stars who keep learning and keep adapting, and then we keep resetting our own expectations for what is great and what's doable. Pretty exciting.
Geeks are definitely at a premium, aren't they?
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was getting beat up for this stuff, Jim. Now it's cool.
Oh my God! When I went to school, if you had a geek, the pocket protector and a tape in the middle of their glasses, you give them a wedgie and a swirly.
Yeah, well, so I used to only put those things on when I wasn't around school. I got my.
Yeah.
Now I'm out about it.
Now they're gods.
It's where we're going though. It's where we're going as an industry. Is we're moving towards this world of using data, and Google's doing it. Facebook, Amazon, and you hear a lot about AI in the dealership world. Half of it's hogwash, honestly, but there are some companies who are actually using AI and machine learning, and you start building scripts and algorithms to learn off of itself, and that's what's cool with some of the automations you can create with PPC, and making lives easier to just even more quickly pinpoint where the opportunities are, because we used to spend hours digging into data. Now it's easier.
Amazon is building a hell of a database.
Yeah.
And most recently, I've caught some of the web providers selling dealer information to Amazon. Are you aware of that acutely?
Selling. So what kind of dealer data?
Well, I'm talking about the web providers are exporting data off of the website to Amazon.
Yeah. And
I've caught the Amazon Pixel, sending information to Amazon on a number of dealer websites. Mm-hmm. It's the web provider collecting the revenue.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest overhauls that I did when I was working at Leek and at that dealer group was we started really taking a very strong look at just how much of our data was being sent out across the network. One of the ways to help win the SEO battle, win that organic space back, is to stop sending your inventory out to all these different websites that you're essentially competing with that are reselling you leads that have all your competition on there. So, it's going to be hard to win against, of course, like the auto traders and cars and car gurus, right? I mean, those, as long as the ROI is right and you're getting the cost per lead that you want, you're getting the inventory views that you want, don't spend all the money they want you to spend, I would say. But there's, hundreds of these other dealerships or these other vendors out there that your data is going to through a lot of the photo providers that are taking vehicle photos for you, or some of the partnerships with even some of the third-party networks where you can find your vehicles on hundreds of websites. And so I went through and cleaned that all up and turned that all off. And that was about a 6-month process to really go through and find all of the areas where our information was. And we say, turn that off. This is our data, and it's too valuable for us to.
Amazing that you would mention that. Amazing you would mention that, Dave. I tell dealers that I work with, take 6 or 7 VIN numbers off of your used inventory and Google just the VIN number and see what websites that VIN number is on.
Yep.
And there's a lot of little pirate websites. Now, these little pirate websites are small websites that are just there to gather leads. And they do sell the lead to the lead provider that hired them. But they also work the lead themselves behind your back.
Yeah.
I've had dealers submit a lead on their own car and get a phone call from a lot across town saying, hey, look, that car is no longer available, but we have similar cars. Yeah,
your like dealers' own inventory is being used against them and being resold to competitors. And I mean, just because you might have, an A6 on your lot, it goes to one of these many other sites that somebody submits a lead on, and then that lead gets put into some kind of aggregate. Hey, here's another A6 buyer. Then it gets resold through a lot of the lead selling providers out there. So, I mean, the first recommendation I would have is, create the list of every vendor you're paying money to that has your inventory on their website. And then you just got to reach out and ask them, who are you sending the inventory out to? And I would like to look at that list, and I would like to X out every single one of those other websites that I don't want my inventory on, because there's no real benefit. You're not getting leads from those places. It's not giving you any kind of exposure. Really, all you're doing is, elevating their authority in your market, and, allowing them to show up in more searches where that could be you and your website. And so that helps you increase your SEO definitively, but it also helps you to stop having those leads in your inventory being sold to competitors that are in town that are selling the same car.
Ken Walls on the sidebar says those sites are idiot SEO people trying to create link farms. Black hat, gray hat SEO hurts many businesses.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, and the problem is there's so many of them. There are companies out there that use some of those sites, and I don't want to say some of those sites. I want to make sure I say this right. Some of those sites can be used well if it drives back to your website. I mean, I think Links does a pretty good job in driving people back to your site. I mean, largely because 80% of that traffic is new to the site. It helps to create some, get people into the retargeting pool, and because they click on those vehicles, it goes to the dealer site and not into some pool where your information is being resold. So I think that model is one that works, and I've seen ROI on that many times, and I'm an advocate for those guys. But when you're not using a tool like that, then those sites are basically worthless. You're not getting leads. You can look in your CRM, you can see your vehicles on the site, and you're not going to see a lead in the CRM that matches that site. So get them off there.
People don't realize that leads have, remember Glenn Ross, when Alec Baldwin made the speech of, the leads are good. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There are bad leads. Leads have a known percentage value of 3 to 18% close.
Yep.
I mean, there are leads that we know close at 3%, and there are leads that we know close at 18%. And the vendor selling you those leads knows which ones they're selling you. And a lot of times, if they don't generate enough leads in a market, they will go to a broker like Detroit Trading Company, and they'll buy the leads that were generated by the little pirate sites.
Yep.
And some of these sites are the 3%ers just signed up trying to win a free car. They had no interest in buying a car.
Yeah.
The 18% are the active in-market customers. And have you ever canceled a lead provider and all of a sudden your leads got very productive?
Oh, it's amazing too, because the team, the BDC team or your sales team or however it's set up, kind of rallies around the fact that, oh, wow, all these leads actually work a little better. And I'm closing a heck of a lot more of them than, I mean, I've seen less than 1% for some of those things. And that's where constant measurement comes in too. Because, I mean, not all leads are created equal, and you got to know where they are in the cycle and how to respond to them. You know, because I'm a big fan of, trade pending and e-auto appraise and some of the better trade appraisal tools. There are some bad ones. They aren't going to close at 15%. They're going to close probably closer to 3 or 4. But if you respond to them the right way and know where they are in the cycle, you can kind of tailor to who they are. Versus, a chat lead, it closes higher than that, and then the third party leads, there's all different buckets. I mean, a third party lead from Auto Trader or Car Guru is an in market lead, but they're also sending leads to 2 or 3 competitors at the same time. So it's not going to close nearly as high as the traffic coming to your website, which is going to most of the time, be your highest closing lead. So that's why we like to, make the recommendations. Don't get a lot of traffic going to these sites where you aren't the sole influencer. The more people you get on your website where you're the only lead opportunity, the only one who's giving the information, and give the information too. Don't try to hide it, because that's not going to work for you. And you see a lot of dealers unfortunately make that mistake. But drive people to your site, be the sole influencer, and you're going to close those leads twice as high as a lot of your other ones. So just knowing where they are and how to respond differently is big. And that data is out there in aggregate. And, those are things to also ask. We said earlier, ask your different data companies, how much information are the CRM sitting on, where they can tell people, hey, across the board, here's the percentage of, website leads and how they're closing, and here's where you fit in the mix. And knowing where you are is the only way where you can set the goals for where you can be. What are the best doing, and get there.
Now, one thing that's got
I know, Ken.
what you got going on?
Oh wait, it's Ken Walls. That's Blocko.
Oh man, one thing that really got me lately is that most of your big 3 or big 4 lead providers have gotten in bed with Carvana, and I'm not sure when Carvana shows up in your searches that they're not even in market. That car might be across country somewhere, and I'm not sure the dealer's going to be real happy with some of the relationships that some of the big lead providers have formed with Carvana and deals like that.
Yeah, and that's touchy too, because there's a lot of dealerships that have inventory all across the country too, and a lot of times they will put all that on their website. Which I mean, it certainly helps increase the number of pages, so there's a lot of big groups that make the same kind of choice on that. I think transparency is what really helps in those situations, where I say, if I don't think it's a bad practice so long as it's very visible that this is a car that's within our network, but it's not here. So, just air that out. Hey, here's how long it takes for us, to get it here. It'll take a day or 2 or 12 hours or whatever it is, depending on the dealership or Carvana, which is something that I think they could probably do to increase the transparency on their site. It's not here. We can get it here. Of course, we're doing everything we can to drive more traffic to dealer sites and not Carvana, because that's a company completely outside of our space. Just lost my light here. There we
go. What's going on, big boy?
Too much data collection out there. It's stealing all the electricity out of the office. I don't know.
Amazing. Oh, they taking some shots of you?
Hey.
Star power. Oh, guess what? Internet Battle Plan. I'm going to do a little commercial here. Internet Battle Plan's coming to Detroit. That's going to be the 7th and the 8th of August. Now, the website is internetbattleplan.com. Ken Walls, you're on the sidebar. Put the website up, would you please? www.internetbattleplan.com. Put it right up for me. But and by the way, anybody watching this broadcast, please share this broadcast around the internet. Hit the share button. Put it on your page. Put it on somebody else's page. Share this broadcast around. because this is some heavy duty information that Dave's putting out here. I mean, this guy is much brighter than he looks, honestly. Yeah.
Thanks.
Now you were at Internet Battle Plan 20, I believe, in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, it was. And actually, I just saw on LinkedIn, Subi Ghosh got a good friend of mine, and she was just crediting the beginning of her career the other day on LinkedIn or Facebook, I think, to going to Internet Battle Plan 8 years ago.
Yeah. Fernando Ghosh. I know her quite well. She was with the Basil Group.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Basil Group is sending a bunch of people to this event.
Oh, very cool.
I talked to Mike Basil the other day, and he's putting his team together. He's going to call me back, and we're going to put a team from Basil out of Buffalo, New York. They're sending a bunch of people. I got some Feldman people coming. I'm working on the LaFontaine people. If anybody knows the LaFontaine people, they need to get in this event. We need more of the local Detroit dealers. I'm getting dealers from all over the country coming to Battle Plan, and the Detroit people procrastinate. Well, we don't need a hotel. We can wait till the last minute. And I'm biting my fingernails. Where's my Detroit people? So,
yeah, don't show too many of them that block O in the back. They might they might not come over and chat with us at reunion if they know that I'm a Buckeye.
It's funny. Subi Ghosh was the internet director for Basil Resale, which is their used car operation. And she came to Battle Plan 2 or 3 or 4. It was real early in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it was only 4 people speaking. It was me, Ralph Paglia, Joe Webb, and golly, I forget the other speaker. I could see his face. But anyway, there was 4 of us. And that was Battle Plan number 3 or 4. It was way up there. The first one was me and Darren Haygood, and believe it or not, David Kane and J.C. Hurst. Then the second one was Sean Bradley and me, and then the third one was probably Sean Bradley and me again. Then the fourth one was the Ralph Paglia. Oh, Larry Bruce was in that one.
Oh yeah,
you know Larry.
That's right around when microsites were getting to be real big for a minute too, I think, right?
Right, the Dynamite Monkey, the little.
Yeah.
He got that nickname, the Dynamite Monkey, because somebody at Digital Dealer said, letting Larry Bruce manage your website would be like giving dynamite to a monkey.
Yeah.
Well, Larry Bruce is good whenever I need somebody to use short jokes on.
Yeah, that was that was a big thing across the industry, was trying to use microsites, and that was something that a lot of vendors were participating in, but it just, fortunately it's best practice not to do that anymore. And most dealerships know that, putting all of your content on your own website, and getting links from other websites, that's where you build the authority. That's where you get the presence. But that was a stage that was not quite as bad as Flash on the websites, but pretty close.
I was just rereading one of the books I wrote back in the 90s, The Prosperity Equation, and I was touting the latest technology, autoresponders.
There's some good ones out there. I think some of the AI ones with Conversica, I would still, prefer for my dealership to run a lot of the, run a lot of that response automatically. But for a lot of dealerships, they don't have the processes built to do that. So I'm a big fan of Conversica when it makes sense for a dealership. But there's a lot of those bots, the autoresponders, especially like on Facebook Messenger and ones that are powering Facebook Messenger for different vendors. Not going to speak ill will about any vendors out in the space, but just knowing and seeing what those responses are, where people get real frustrated, where they think they're talking to a human being and it's not a human being responding back. And they start dropping the F-bomb and they start cursing, and they still think they're talking to a human, but the responses are, just idiotic, really, where, as an industry, we have a lot of room to grow in terms of, if we're going to go that route, which I really think we should go more towards better customer service. And you can automate a whole lot of things, but you can't automate service. If you're going to go that route, don't make it look as foolish. And then, dealers, make sure you're looking at what's being said on behalf of your store when you're using that. Check in on that periodically, or even more often than that. and just make sure that, these are robots that are representing your dealership. So if you're going to use that, and again, I encourage you not to, and use better customer service, make sure you know what's being said, because it sure can make a dealership look very foolish and take a lot of people off.
Yeah, more than what was that? Guess who's, we got a little reverb happening here. Is it me?
No, is it me again?
I think it might be. A little echo happening, some volume gets up a little loud. There it is. But anyway, where was I with that conversation? Oh, one of the people speaking at Battle Plan is Marty Blue from Car Gurus. And Marty's one of the directors, and she's going to be pulling back a little. I don't care where you are in the country. Any predominant search criteria that you put in, make, model, city, let's face it, most searches that consumers put in are going to have three things: the make, the model, and the city.
Yep. Yeah, that's the short tail still is 95% of searches for dealers.
F-150, Peoria, Ohio. Where the hell Peoria is? I got clients in Peoria.
Yeah, or Illinois, close.
It's in Illinois, right?
Yeah, Big Ten country, just not the best Big Ten state.
Yeah, Gary Uftring's one of my clients in Peoria, but I forgot what state he's in. I've been in 1,000 dealerships. Sometimes I'd wake up in a hotel out there somewhere and I'd sit straight up in bed. Where am I? What am I supposed to be doing today? Am I late?
Yeah, there's a lot of travel in our space for sure. And, that's one of the reasons why, when we talk about looking at competitors for dealerships, we want to drive traffic to the website. The competition is very often not other dealerships. It is these third-party sites, and Car Gurus does an amazing job with their own SEO to drive traffic to their site. Frankly, they're the best in the space in terms of who the real competition is for a dealership. And we try to, and most of the time do beat them in the organic results, but we always encourage dealers to use them because they're up there. They're always in the top 3 results. They give a great ROI in most cases that we see. I mean, that's one thing that we believe very, very firmly is, when there's another great company out there, even if they're maybe competing against that organic spot for us, if it's a good company that gets good results, then, we do encourage dealerships to add that to their marketing mix.
I'll tell you now, Car Gurus and Edmunds seem to be outproducing a lot of the other lead providers for my clients. And I was at war with Edmunds for years because of some of the articles they had on their site. But all of a sudden, I started getting reports back from my dealer clients that Edmunds was producing some really great return on investment. So I reached out to them, and we buried that hatchet, and and I've been recommending them ever since.
Yeah, they're one. I mean, I'm not big on price promise really, but I mean, it's a game you play. But yeah, I think that they drive a whole lot of leads, and you look at cost per lead. They are one of the most efficient spends out there. You just signing up, even if you don't do price promise, you get a whole lot of leads from just being a partner with them that most manufacturers don't buy. There are a couple that will buy those leads from them, but they're one of the lowest cost per lead, vendors out there, and those leads close just as well as the other third-party sites do. So for whatever reason, I mean, Edmunds is so well known in our industry, but so many dealerships don't put them on their budget, and it's a pretty low cost intent buyer, kind of site that people are on there for one reason. They're looking up, information about new cars or at a very small percentage used cars, and so they're demonstrating just by being on there that they're in market. So that's a great place to be.
One of my favorite dealers just came on, John Sinclair out of St. Louis. John says, "What is your opinion of Edmunds teaming up with Facebook?"
Is that as one of their? I'm not actually sure. Is that where Edmunds is syndicating their inventory across Facebook?
Yeah.
So again, I think it's a good model. I think that dealerships could save a whole lot more money if they would use their own customer database and do Facebook with a partner that's going to cost them significantly less on a cost per click basis. A lot of those, the way that they're trying to position those is using their data. So it's really a little bit more of an intent focus than, other ways to use Facebook, which is more stimulating interest. But it's trying to get people ultimately to the website or clicking on your inventory. And the cost for what they're charging for those is a higher CPM or cost per click than what you can do on your own using your own data or with a social partner. So I guess ultimately it's something that if I was a volume dealer and I wanted to increase my exposure, I would consider it 15th or 20th maybe on the list of vendors, but there's a lot cheaper ways to use Facebook and use your own data or other data with, companies like Oracle, Polk, and those integrations still exist even with GDPR that just happened. That just got extended to April 16th, but all of that in-market data is not going away the way that everyone thought it was going to. I actually just spoke to those Oracle guys last week, where it's changing a little bit, but it's a lot cheaper to use those routes than to use, $4 clicks or whatever it is. I think it's less than that. I think I'm thinking of a different vendor, but I still think it's a lot higher than what you can do otherwise.
Okay, Facebook is yielding some incredible results for my dealers. The pay-per-click on Facebook is, if you're targeted correctly, Facebook's outproducing Google in many, many instances. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, so Facebook is something that, we look at, when we're building a budget, intent versus stimulus is kind of how we look at it. TV is the broadest form of stimulus marketing. It's very inefficient. Facebook, we like to look at as in that same bucket where we're playing the numbers game a lot more than Google. Google, you're paying for a single click. So you're paying for someone who's saying, again, Honda Accord for sale in Raleigh or Honda Accord for sale near me, basically raising their hand and saying, I'm looking to buy a car. So it's going to cost a little more because you're bidding. But Facebook goes back to, the same way that we used to look at the newspaper or, radio or TV. It's a numbers game, and it's a very cost-effective numbers game to get in front of tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. A lot of dealerships are a little bit reluctant to spend that much on Facebook, but when we compare it too much to Google, then I think we get away a little bit from the purpose behind that channel. And this is, let's get the branding out there. Let's show our inventory. Let's do all the things that TV and radio and newspaper are supposed to do or used to do, but just do it that much more effectively. We can target geographically. You can start targeting, with your own customer database. You can target based on in-market owners. Buyer personas, the stuff that we used to do, 10 years ago when we were trying to say, okay, what do we want to put in this, Jaguar XK ad? Who's that buyer? And then we come up with that buyer persona, and it's, terrific Tony, and we make up those names. You can do all that same kind of stuff to really dominate a section of the population who is a specific buyer persona, and you can do that in a way that's so much cheaper than TV and radio and the newspaper. And what's exciting about that is that you consider, people see 10,000 ads every month, and a lot of people are spending $20, $30, $50, $100,000 on TV, and they're showing up 3, 5, maybe 20 times total. Even if you're spending 100,000 and you get seen 20 times your ad is seen out of 10,000 times that people see commercials in a given month, how much influence are you really creating to the 99% of people that aren't going to buy a car this month? So it's just, Facebook is a huge opportunity for dealers to invest a whole lot more and save a whole lot of money.
Okay, now people are saying on the side, Scott Miller, Craigslist is out. It's outdated.
Craigslist has changed a lot. That's one that, I would recommend outsourcing. There's some great companies out there that do Craigslist ads for you, and I would just measure it the same way you measure everything else. What's the cost per lead? AutoSuite, Dave Lemon, buddy over there, they do a great job. We recommend that to a lot of our stores. There are times, and he'll be the first to tell you that we said, these are not performing. We were recommending to the dealership that they cancel these ads. But then there's many times where we see the cost per lead in line with what our expectations are. So it's really a matter of, do you have an ROI benchmark for whatever vendor you're using? Do you know the purpose behind it? If you're going to do cost per lead for Facebook and you compare that to paid search, you're going to lose all day. But are you hitting your purpose, and is it within your plan? Is it prioritized right? And it just comes down to try new things, test new things, and we see it work a lot, and there's times that we don't see it work. So Facebook Marketplace, I mean, that's definitely up and coming, and we're going to see more partners be able to use Facebook Marketplace. There's still about 6 or 7 that are allowed to use it in the auto space. I expect that number to increase, triple in the next year and a half, I would imagine.
Well, let me ask you, at the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about Reunion Marketing, and that's your company, and we talked about your retail experience. It's very important to car people when they deal with a vendor to feel that you've got a good feel for retail, because let's face it, I've had people at my battle plan talk down to the dealers as if we're idiots, and I'm always offended that they don't really get the business. And it's a different mindset. I mean, what you think might be the case is not always the case in the car business.
No, I mean, and to me, it's a business that if you're on the retail side and you get that competitive nature, then you're never going to leave. I'm in the auto industry for the rest of my life because, I mean, there's something about how competitive we all are and how much we want to really beat that store down the street and take it to them and be number one in our region, be number one in our AOI, number one in wherever we're competing, not just against other same make manufacturers, but against everybody. We just want to win, and we want to beat people up along the way. And I mean, it's why it's so fun. And one of the things that we do internally here, because not everyone, 5 of the 6 of us that founded this, there's 5 guys that all worked at Leek with me. We all know the space, and we've had a lot of years on the retail side, but we bring in a lot of smart digital folks who don't know it. But because it's so important to really understand the industry, we have dealer school every Friday where we spend an hour to an hour and a half, and we just talk about the industry, and we go through different vendors, we go through different processes. We're writing up lease disclaimers and understanding what cap cost reduction really means and why it exists, and some of the money factors and how preposterous those are to 2,400, all that kind of stuff. But the more that we can understand the industry, the better we're going to be able to meet the needs of our customers and our partners, along with understand what the potential customers for our dealer network are looking for and interacting with. So, I think that's a mistake maybe a lot of vendors in our space make, is that they don't take the time to really understand who dealerships are and why it's so much fun to be in this space, and I mean, why it's so competitive, and how that 30-day cycle works, and what's going on between service and sales, and how little they talk and how much they could. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect if you didn't come from a dealership, that is important to know to create the success and the relationships that are a big part of what we're doing. It's all about service and relationships, as long as the results are there, of course, too.
Absolutely. In your clients, I know that I often know the answer to the question I'm about to ask, but what kind of increases are you showing your clients? I have seen the numbers. I know the answer to the question. What kind of increases are your clients experiencing?
Yeah, we have some clients that we can't even share in our sales presentations, the increases, because we've had 1,000% traffic increases and stuff like that. Those are the outliers, but within 4 months, 85% of our partners have had their all-time highs in organic. Our click-through rates in paid search are 4 times industry average, 3 times in social media on Facebook. The way that we look at our dealer network to identify exactly where the dealership is weak compared to all the other dealers in our network, either off-site and in driving traffic there, or on-site and increasing the leads, the phone calls, the emails, the chats, the texts. We're able to tell them right away, hey, you are not where you should be in these 4 areas. So we're going to put our primary focus there first. Once we get you there, then we're going to go to the next 4, and we're going to make sure that that happens. And so because we're strategic in our data, in our use of data, to pinpoint exactly where the biggest opportunities are, take action on those, and have a real plan for it. We expect to, I mean, 85% is not good enough still for us. We want to be at 100. But when you know exactly what to do and where the opportunities are, it allows you to be a whole lot more successful than trying to go after everything all at once. Just like when you're setting goals for yourselves, you want to set a goal 3 years out. Make sure you have a 1-year mark to hit that 3 years. Make sure you have 6 months to hit that year, 3 months to hit that, 1 month. What are you going to do this week to do that? And so what do I have to do today to hit the 1 week? And when you build out a strategy around data and that kind of goal setting mindset, then you win.
Very good. This is how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so reach out to me, Dave at reunionmarketing.com. If you're interested in seeing, a little bit more about Reunion, also co-founder Chad Graves is our vice president of sales. He also spent several years with me over at Leek. He's Chad at reunionmarketing.com, or just call myself. It's 919-259-4614. Usually, if I don't understand or if I don't recognize a number, I won't answer right away because I get a lot of solicitations also. Still, just like a lot of our dealership friends out there, but I always check my voicemail, and you can call 919-259-4614 or Dave at reunionmarketing.com or Chad at reunionmarketing.com. And happy to show any dealers where they are. You look at some of their numbers and kind of pinpoint where their opportunities are, and we love this stuff. So at the very least, we can show people where they are and help them create some goals for themselves. But most of the time, we're able to help and help pretty quickly. That's
amazing. When I saw you, I actually bumped into you at the women's conference. What about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, Women in Auto.
Yep. That was the first time I'd attended Women in Automotive. I've been a big supporter of theirs, but I hadn't.
Yeah, it's a great event.
Yeah, I came back feeling so guilty that I was a man. I've repented since.
I like their message, Stronger Together. I thought that was, they did a really great job out there at that one for sure. And that's, Subi did a lot of great stuff out there, and Christy and Eliana and all of them.
Christy, Eliana, they did a great job. I'm a friend of Lisa Copeland, and I'm telling you right now, they did a great job with that conference. I hadn't attended Women in Automotive previously. I don't know the head count, but it was a pretty big crowd, bigger than some of my battle plans, I'll tell you. So I'll be supporting them in the future, and probably next time they're in Florida, I'll be a speaker.
Yeah, I think I heard them. I think I overheard them saying that to you actually when I was passing by you.
Yeah, well, I took more selfies at that event. More people were coming up taking selfies with me, and I kept saying, "Try to get the Rolex, get the Rolex."
Yeah, there's one person that asked me for one, and then they're like, "Oh shoot, wrong person." No,
what can I say? Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun at Internet Battle Plan. We're at the Greektown Casino. I've used Greektown right in the heart of the Detroit restaurant district. It's the 7th and 8th of August. The website is www.internetbattleplan.com. And my phone number, I take my own calls. Call me. My cell phone is 770-851-2803. Now, Dave, dealer principals are no charge. And general managers are no charge. And any member of the dealer's family is no charge. Now, that's pretty good. And we dropped the price for employees down to $695. For years, I've sold Battle Plan for $1,500 an attendee, and didn't cut that price.
This one, got to get out there. It's an awesome conference.
And you did Teach It to Beach 2 in Myrtle Beach. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, just looking at the speaker lineup, there's a lot of very smart people there, and it's especially for people at a dealership, $695 or free. It's it really is a no-brainer to get out there for a couple days and learn a lot of stuff. And I'm excited to do some learning of my own too. I mean, I'm a student of this industry, and I learn a lot every time I go too, just as well as doing some of the informing as well. There's a lot to learn there.
That I credit my successes. I don't claim to be the ultimate, but I've had a pretty strong track record in my career, and it's not because I'm so much smarter than other people. It's because I did things other people would not do. And one of the things I do is educate myself, become a student of the industry. And, I can't believe some dealers will spend hundreds, even $1,000 a car to sell a car and zero to train the people that handle it. Yeah. No training budget, but a big budget per car. Get them in. I mean, how many times have you had a manager on a sales desk? Well, the man wants to know. Get them in. Get them in. Get them in.
Training never stops, and learning never stops. And once it does, it's time to get out of the space, because we're all too hungry in our learning. And when you see someone who stops learning and stops trying to see what's new and innovative, then it's really quick how fast they crash and fall. So it's ongoing learning.
I have been in the retail car business for 42 years. I have underwear older than you. I'm wearing it right now. But the truth of the matter is, I have seen so many generations of the car business, and I've had to change and reinvent every time. And so many people have not reinvented because technology is changing fast. I was a keynote speaker for the very first digital dealer, or the second one, in Las Vegas, when there were 400 attendees and they were all in one room, and I'm on stage and I'm showing people how to use a flip camera.
Oh yeah.
It's state of the art. and nobody knew how to do video. It was crazy. I mean, it has all changed so fast. I mean, when I wrote my book 20 years ago, autoresponders were big news. Your customer fill out a form and get an auto response. Oh my God.
Even with some of those ones, it's even though it's been so long they've had them, there's still so many bad practices happening too. And that's where it's important with that and merchandising, the line ads of the internet, because I remember line ads, and I'm so glad I don't have to do that every day anymore. But
guess who's on? Laura Hayes.
Laura Hayes.
Yeah, Laura Hayes. I'll tell you what, Laura Hayes, one of my favorite people. She's out there in the audience, and she says everyone needs to have a plan to keep educating themselves, and Battle Plan is a great place to do that. Laura's not going to make this one, but her company is going to be there. Laura's going to be somewhere else, unfortunately. But I'm telling you, Battle Plan is going to be exceptional. And dealer principals are free. Call me. Reunion Marketing, it's Dave at reunionmarketing.com.
Yep.
Laura says, love you, Jim. Oh, shucks. Anyway, have you had a good experience here today, big guy?
Yeah, it's always good talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being on. Now, I'm going to repurpose this broadcast all over the internet. And, we had about 60 people over the course of the broadcast, but I promise you, over the next couple of days, it'll be thousands of people on the replays. It's crazy the way I don't expect a big audience in the beginning, but the replays, when I put it up on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I put it all over Facebook and on Dealer Elite, all of a sudden we start getting the views. I've had as many as 6,000 views on the replay with these broadcasts. And of course, Facebook Live is just an incredible asset.
Yeah, I appreciate you putting us on. We're young and starting to make a lot of noise. So thanks for helping us amplify it, because there's a lot of stuff out there that dealers have an opportunity to do, and a lot of it with data. So dealers who are taking it and using it, they're gonna win.
Amy Bohm appears to know you.
Oh, Amy.
You know Amy? I know Amy.
Yeah, Amy's great.
Yeah, hey, I mean, Amy will have to hey, Amy, you just got on, but we're about to end the broadcast. You're going to have to go back and rewind this thing when it posts.
Amy, come up with a battle plan. That'd be great to see you up there too.
Ken Wall said this is a great interview, and Ken's got a show. You need to be on Ken's show as well.
Oh yeah. And both Buckeye fans, it sounds like too, from some of the comments. So that's always good hearing from a fellow Buckeye.
Yeah, well, Ken still uses a flip camera. We got 1 minute. I was on stage at Digital Dealer, and I interviewed somebody in the audience with my flip camera. Then I ran up on the stage and shoved it in my laptop, emailed it to myself, and showed it on the screen. And that was high tech.
Digital Dealer 2. My first one was, I think, Digital Dealer 7 was my first one. I've been to every one of them since on the dealer side, and then now a reunion. And it just goes back to that ongoing education. But what I like, about Internet Battle Plan and the way that you structured yours is that, we're all in the same room. We're all learning and discussing the same speakers. We're all able to have a conversation about what's going on. And you ask some great questions in that. So it's a more intimate environment, but it's one that I think the learning is just that high because it's that intimate and people can ask things without being afraid to ask the wrong questions. It's an awesome environment. So I'm really excited for being there.
You mentioned it's all in the same room. Everybody in the audience hears every one of the speakers. Have you ever been to a conference that had 10 breakouts at the same time?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're saying, Mike, is that a crappy guy? Is that woman good or is she crappy? Are they terrible? Are they good? And God help you if you get a good title and it's a crappy presenter.
Yeah, and you do a great job of vetting them too. So people can expect there to be great speakers out there because they're Alpha Dog approved.
Alpha Dog, and I'm doing the opener. 20 things I would do if I bought your dealership. 20 things I'd change if I bought your store. And there's going to be some people going to get pissed off about that presentation because it has a lot to do with firing vendors and renegotiating.
Yeah, you need to keep people on your toes, though. If you're not keeping your vendors on your toes and holding them accountable, and you know what they're working towards, then they're probably not working towards it. You gotta.
I own a domain that I have never activated. I bought it through GoDaddy. And I just renewed it. Find out what otherdealerspaid.com. There's people that dread the day I activate that one. Have a great day, my man.
Hey, thanks again, Jim. Really appreciate it.